following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever you may be listening and wherever you may be. This is the program called Ask Claire on the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. And I've been doing this program for a few months now and get to talk with all kinds of interesting people about all kinds of interesting things. And my guest today, very happy to welcome to the program, Connie Sanders. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
And you are a woman like me, and we are both transgender. And we have connected through Facebook, through some mutual friends. We haven't met in person. I'm in Oregon, and you are in the great state of Texas, correct?
Yes.
So, you know, I just was saying before we started recording, I really appreciate your Facebook page, the things you share. I think you have some interesting meditations on observations on what it means to be a trans woman in the world of 2019. And would you just use that as a jumping off point to your observations about the joys, the struggles of being trans?
Yes, it's I love being who I am. The only thing I really regret is I didn't do it sooner. That's one of my biggest regrets. But I enjoy getting up every morning and doing my makeup and, going out in the world and stuff. I mean, we are in 2019, which is a very interesting time for us and everything. But, it has its ups and downs. I live in, you said I live in Texas, which is a very conservative state where I live. So, we're very, we've tried 3 times to pass a bathroom law stating that you cannot for that, and it's been voted down all 3 times, which is good. But just people just don't understand, kind of that. I get a lot of, I'm 5'10", so it's I'm kind of tall, but a lot of women in Texas are tall. So it's, as they say, everything in Texas, is bigger in Texas. So
Yep.
So I'm kind of like I'm taller and stuff like that. So, but I really I've been full time for a year now. January 2nd was my 1-year anniversary of going full time. I've not really had any problems. Thank you. I've not really had any problems for that. I mean, you're going to run, 99% of the people that I run into do not care if you're male, female, boy, girl, giraffe. They don't care. They're all wrapped up in their own selves, and they got their own problems to deal with. There's always that 1% that you run into, and that's pretty much anywhere in the United States. So, I had a lot of friends. When I came out, I had a bunch of friends that, disowned me. My family, pretty much except my mom and my sister, disowned me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Out of that, in the last year, I've made friends that are that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. I mean, as you've seen on my Facebook, me and a couple of girls go at one another and stuff, and we do everything, which is a great thing for that. And then we're going. There is a conference in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, coming up on March 20th called Keystone, that we're all going to get together for the first time and enjoy and do all kinds of stuff with. So I'm looking forward to that with them and stuff. So I've got all that planned. So I will be in Pennsylvania for really a week for that and everything. So I'm looking forward to meeting them and stuff.
Fun.
Yes. and here in Texas, I'm a big leader in the community. There's not very many trans girls or men in Texas or around my area that I know of and stuff. But I have a group chat thing that we talk to on all that and stuff, and I plan events for the Oaklawn area, and other events. But the Oaklawn area is the LBGT community of Dallas, so I do stuff for that, and I've made friends that people that have come out of their shell and were scared to death. Because as one of my friends tells me, you just don't want to be sitting here 70, 80 years old, looking back and wishing that you didn't live it the way you wanted to live and stuff. So I've been very grateful with the friends that I've made, friends that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world, and I just take it one day at a time, the best I can.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of echoes of your story and my own story. I went full-time on June 2nd, 6 months after you did, and, unfortunately, my ex-wife and stepchildren, who I'd hoped to maintain a relationship with, they've disowned me, cut me out of their lives. But, on the flip side, I not only have so many of my existing friendships deepened, but I have made new friends, and a lot of them, and just, I'm not sure exactly how you put it, but just the joy of getting up every single morning and knowing that you get to be yourself all day long. Yeah. Something I put on Facebook just last night that really a lot of people responded to was, I had to be happy to realize I was unhappy. And, a lot of interesting feedback on that, people saying, this is the most heartbreaking and heartwarming thing I've seen in a long time. But, I'm tall too. I'm actually just a shade under 6 feet, and that was one of the things in my mind, because I'm going to be 60 this year. I'm getting to be an old broad. So, and the fact that I waited until I was 58 to transition, there's some regret there, but that was one of the things in my head. It seemed like back in the 1980s when I first started contemplating it, there weren't many 6-foot women around. Now it seems like, I don't know, it's like instead of making excuses, I started finding reasons to do it, and it has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. So let me ask you, people who listen to the program know that, even though I hopscotch around a lot of topics, I keep coming back to transgender life, and I keep coming back to baseball. And when we connected up, I was pleasantly astonished to learn that you are a former professional baseball player. And would you share with us about your career?
Yes. I played in high school. I've played since, I was 4, 5 years old. I've been, that was just one thing that kind of connected with me and my dad. He's deceased now, but me and him always had some kind of connection through baseball. My dad then, and then we almost went to the Little League World Series back in '98, but we got beat in the state final, so we didn't get to do that. Then I played in high school, and I was given a full scholarship to the University of Texas, full ride to play baseball. Then I entered my name in the amateur draft in '04, and I was drafted by my hometown Rangers. So I had a choice to make, and I decided to forego college, and I went and played professional baseball. So I was in the Rangers organization from '04 to '07. And in '06, I tore my rotator cuff playing in AA Frisco. Then I rehabbed, but I have permanent nerve damage in my shoulder, so I can't throw hard anymore. I was a pitcher, so I can't throw as hard anymore. Then in '08, my dad got cancer, and I made a decision to go back and, I just quit because my dad had gotten cancer in '08, and I came back home, and he had a year through chemo and everything, but in 2009 he had passed away from cancer. He had throat cancer. He so March 7th will be 10 years since he's been deceased. But
oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. I got to see all up and down California and Oregon and Washington and all that. So it was really, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
So, for people, some people follow this program, maybe aren't baseball fans. The fact that you reached AA, that's, 2 rungs below the major leagues. That's
yes.
That's a pretty, a pretty competitive, pretty high achievement. So,
yes.
I know there's so many what ifs, but did you feel like, did the organization feel like, if you hadn't gotten hurt, that you were potentially on a good path to the majors?
Yes. Yes, I thought I was one of their top prospects all through, in spring training. I was, they were kind of not wanting, just really waiting on me, and knew that because I was 18, 19 years old. I was not, and they were, doing all kinds of stuff. And after I tore my rotator cuff, they had actually kind of thought about putting me at a different position. They had asked me, had I ever played, any other position in high school, and I told them, I said, well, when I didn't pitch, I played second base. Uh-huh. So they were actually thinking about, maybe making me into like a first base or a second baseman. They're, only thing was, because they really didn't have a first baseman at the time. They had a second baseman with Ian Kinsler, who is now, with that was really their up-and-comer on that, so they didn't really know about that. First base, they kind of had a first baseman with Mitch Moreland, but, what's funny is Mitch Moreland was a pitcher converted to a first baseman. So that's kind of what they were kind of wondering with that. So it was kind of like, they didn't really know exactly what they were wanting me to do, but they had really talked about converting me maybe to a second baseman. I knew that I was not going to be made into a shortstop because of Elvis he's the shortstop of the Rangers, and the third, and then they had Michael Young kind of going all around positions and stuff like that. I mean, when Michael Young came up as a second baseman, and then whenever we traded A-Rod, they ended up getting Soriano. Soriano moved to second base. So, it was a second baseman when they got him, when we traded A-Rod, which made Michael Young a shortstop. Well, then Michael Young, whenever they had Elvis come up, he went from shortstop to third base. And then when they signed AB, Michael Young went from third base to kind of just a utility infielder all around. He would play first, second, third, short, DH, everything later on and stuff. So at the time, they really just didn't know where they were wanting to put me. They knew that they just were trying stuff, but I wanted to be a pitcher, and I didn't really have a lot of I guess my heart wasn't in it whenever I couldn't throw as hard as I was anymore and stuff. I always played a pitcher. I always did as being a pitcher. So with that, and then you're being told you can't pitch anymore. I never really worked on hitting. I never really worked on anything like that. So I think my heart just wasn't in it whenever they tried putting me in another position. That's looking back on it 10 years later. So.
Yeah, and then with your dad's illness, the combination of those things just made you decide it was time to step away? Correct.
I mean, it was just, I wanted to be, I wanted to be there with my dad and everything.
Sure.
And he, he just, I just didn't. I knew it was going to be hard, and again, like you said, with all the being, in a position that really my heart was probably not 100% in it, and my dad and stuff. It was just I made the decision to after spring training '08, I just ended up leaving and I came home.
So let me ask you if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about maybe coming to awareness that you were trans. I mean, like for me, I really think people have asked me this a lot, and I really think at age 5 I knew that I identified as female. On the other hand, I've met people who have said that the realization came later in life, more gradually.
Mm-hmm.
Just your story, please, if you don't mind.
Well, I guess, like you said, it was at 5. Seemed like at 5. I can remember, seeing my mom, dress up, and I could never understand why men, like my boys had to wear certain clothes and girls had to wear, certain clothes. So that was something that just I never could understand. Then after that, I kind of just denied. My dad was very old school, so you couldn't really. You had to do stereotypical boy stuff. You cannot really. I couldn't do anything like that. I can remember probably around. But I knew something was always different with me from a very early age. Probably around 99. I want to say about 99. I guess that would make me about 13. I kind of, started secretly, wearing my mom's clothes because my mom is a little smaller person. So as I was growing, we were almost pretty much the same size, so I could wear her clothes. So whenever my parents would be like gone during the day or something, and I'd be home alone, that would be kind of just my time, just wearing her clothes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I basically I continued doing that all through high school, and I then when I got drafted, I thought, okay, this is going to get me out of my way. It's not going to put me. I'm born a male. I'm going to do male stuff. I'm going to play baseball. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So I did that. Then I got married, just like everybody tells you to, and
sure.
I actually told my ex, she's one of the first people I kind of told about, and she dismissed it as being, I was crazy and just whatever. So we divorced after 2 years. And then I have a real good friend to this day, and I told her flat, she was the first I ever told that I was transgender. I had told her, and she said I was kind of, she said, well, she was like, duh, I know you are. But
wow.
What really the deciding point was that I was sitting on New Year's Eve, so December 31st, 2016, I was sitting in my room watching TV, watching some bowl game. I don't even know what was, mm-hmm. I don't even remember the bowl game. Mm-hmm. And I said that I need to have some kind of New Year's resolution that's going to do that. And I said that I want to be more positive in life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I said, what makes me happy? So as I looked in there, I looked in my room, and in my room there was I kind of had a blocked off section of clothes that I had kind of just kept over the years, and I said, this is what makes me happy. So I went from that to I started looking on the internet, and in Dallas there is like a cross-dressing transgender group that I joined, and we go out and do stuff and everything, and I just started, experimenting. And I started just doing it kind of slow, but I didn't really do it all the time. But then I was still miserable as my old self. I was not completely happy. Mm-hmm. So then on December, that was not 2018. I'm sorry, it was 2017 that I decided. It's not 2016. I'm sorry, I get some dates confused. Anyway, in 2018, on Halloween I decided that I could not do this anymore as being that, and I had to be who I was. So I came out to on 2017. I came out to everybody that I wanted to, and I was shocked. I told my sister, she was supportive. I told my best friend, she was supportive, and I told my family, and they disowned. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, so, but here you are, and I sense, like so many of us, some pain, but so much joy, and would you say no regrets at having transitioned?
No, zero regrets. I mean,
Good.
I am so much more happier now as who I am that I don't have to hide who I am compared to who I was beforehand. So.
Yeah, and I look at your pictures on Facebook, and I see genuine joy, and that's what people tell me, about so many of my pictures, that I hardly ever posted selfies pre-transition, and people would always say, "Oh, how come you never smile? You're never smiling," and I just would sort of shrug, and now people say, "Wow, you look radiant, you look so happy," and I said, "Well, that's because I am." So you have your role in the community. You have your Facebook presence. That's another thing that I find. That I to some extent have done as well with this radio program, my Facebook, and other things. That for those of us who have had things go relatively well, and it's like we feel. Would you say? I tell people a desire, but almost a sense of obligation too, to give back, to try and that just people like you and me living our lives, being normal, that that it helps counteract some of the myths, some of the fears, that we're not crazy, we're not predators. One of the first, because I'm in elected office, my transition made some news, and one of the first Facebook links, one of the first comments underneath was pervert, and I just thought, oh my God. But again, the positive comments, the positive feedback, at least for me, has outnumbered the occasional cheap shot like that by so many. And here's something. Do you run into this, that I'm even starting to hear people, maybe they're not closeted trans or closeted gay, but just they feel empowered by my story. They say, hey, you were willing to live authentically, to be who you are, and that's encouraging to me. Do you get that kind of feedback too?
Yes, I get that a lot, and I've given that feedback. There are two girls that I remember that I've been friends with for a very long time, that whenever I first started my profile page and on my Facebook page and my Instagram, and one of them is Monica Mayday, who is been really. I read her story, and when I read her story, it really gave me the confidence to go full time. And then I know she's going to kill me right now, but Kira Christine, who is my best friend, my best trans best friend. What she posts and everything from her transition to, coming up to her GCS surgery, or her sexual reassignment surgery, whatever the bottom surgery, whatever they want to call it, that, she has been a very strong person, and it's just helped me become a better person with what she does. And through that, of me seeing, how well they're adjusting and how positive they are toward the community, it's made me a better person, which in turn I have had a bunch of girls that have come up to me and messaged me all the time saying that, you know, your post is inspiring. What you post on Facebook is, you know, helps me out. You know, you're not afraid to show that you are, you know, who you are. You know, your past pictures, you know, from the Transition Tuesdays to the, you know, Throwback Thursdays that we do. You know, you're not afraid to show who you are, and, you know, you're proud of who you are, which in turn helps me realize that, you know, there is a light at the tunnel from where I start to the, you know, now stuff. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm so glad. You know, it's like a big circle of community, almost, isn't it?
Mhm. Mhm.
And you know, getting back to kind of the theme that I brought up at the beginning of the program, I think of, what was it, Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. It opens, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times."
Mhm.
You know, and sometimes I almost feel like that's what it's like to be trans in America in 2019. We've got the president trying with his military ban. We've got the bathroom bills, and still a lot of ignorance, fear, prejudice, and hate. And yet I just feel like, you know, in the long run, society is moving towards, you know, acceptance. I mean, I've got, you know, I don't have much immediate family left. I do have a niece who's 40, and she's got a daughter who's 12 and a son who's 9. And when she told them about my transition, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, that's nice. No big deal to them at all. And so, you know, won't it be, you know, a wonderful day? And I think you and I and many thousands others hopefully are helping to pave the path to a world, you know, where somebody says, "I'm transitioning," and all their friends say, "Okay, congratulations, you know, happy for you," but it's not a big deal. Won't that be a great day?
I think that too. I mean, you know, I have this, me and Kira have done this kind of thing on my Facebook where we just kind of like talk about issues and stuff, and it starts out, and then we've done it. We kind of joke about stuff later. But one of the things that she said is that right now, I mean, we are literally in the civil rights movement for transgender people.
Oh yeah.
And you know, this is our civil rights movement. So, you know, all we can do is just, you know, keep showing people who we are. We're out here. We're not scared. We're not anything. And, you know, just continue to be, you know, pillars of the community, because, you know, it can't.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. You were.
No, I was just thinking, you know, I've had so many people tell me that I'm brave, and I imagine you have too, but, you know, again, I try to be gracious and thank them, but I just keep wanting to say, you know, I don't feel brave at all, you know, that as one of my trans friends said, you know, brave is running into a burning building to save somebody's life, that I just feel like I had to do, you know, this is what I had to do to achieve contentment, happiness. But you know, if it inspires people, great.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people. I mean, I've had people like you said also say, you know, you're brave for coming out, you're brave for being in the world, being who you are and stuff. And I'm like, I don't consider myself brave. I consider myself me. I was, you know, going down a path that I didn't want to be down, and, you know, being, you know, just living who I am and being happy with who I am. You know, I don't wake up in the morning, you know, wishing I was dead. That's one of the biggest things that really, now that, you know, being who, you know, that I'm able to be who I am every day, I don't want to like wake up and, you know, go to bed and wish that I was dead. I mean, we all get dysphoria from time to time. I mean,
sure.
You know, you look in the mirror and you just don't see yourself or anything, and that happens to. It doesn't matter if you've been, you know, at this one day or you've been at this 40 years, there's gonna be days that you look in the mirror and you just see that you're not happy with yourself.
Yeah.
But all in all, I cannot go back to who I was, because that's not who I am, and I hid it so long that the minute that I was able to go out and just be who I am, it was the greatest weight that has been lifted off my shoulder.
Oh, yeah. One of my oldest friends, he was my first boss, hired me for a summer job when I was 15, and he was 22, and 43 years later, we're still friends. And the first time I saw him as Claire at the end, he says, you seem like the same person, except a tremendous weight has been lifted from your shoulders. And I said, exactly, Kevin. Yeah. Connie, we are coming to our half-hour mark. Any final thoughts before we sign off? It's been great talking with you.
No, I mean, it's been great talking. I mean, it was whenever you had messaged me about wanting to do this, I was kind of nervous at first and really didn't know what to say or what to think. But it's just once you get started and everything, it became easy. So it's been great doing this.
Yeah. I very much appreciate it. So our guest today, Connie Sanders, and this has been Ask Claire. Until we meet again along the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, happy trails.